for taking the time today to chat with us at The Christian Beat around your new music and your upcoming tour. Some exciting stuff for Newsboys here.
Yeah. It feels like we're finally super busy again, which feels normal.
That's probably a nice feeling, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is, to be honest.
For sure. So I just wanted to start first with the deluxe version of Stand that's coming out later this week. I'm curious what prompted the group to kind of want to continue the message and the narrative behind Stand, which released about a year ago, I think, at this point, versus kind of embarking on a new project at this stage.
Yeah. Well, I think, the world of music is kind of changing, and the way that people listen to music is changing with I think we've decided in some ways that our fans are kind of more interested in the idea of more of a steady stream of music from us than having to wait 3 years or whatever and then dumping like 10, 12 new songs on them. So I think, there's a couple things. I mean, when we did the Stand record, most of that was done through the pandemic period, which was actually great because it was it was one of the few great things about being locked down from touring was that it gave us unlimited time to record and write and do all those things, which really we've never had just because we're usually on the road so much. So those songs kind of came from that time, and then there were some others that weren't released with the original record. And then since that time, over the past year and a half or so, we've been just never really stopped. And so as far as recording, so there's songs like King of Kings with Bart, and then a few others that weren't on the original record that are really cool songs, and then obviously I Speak Jesus and some others. So kind of made sense since the album's still new, but we're still got a lot of new songs and singles coming out to kind of just group all those together in the deluxe version and some videos and things like that too. So that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And before we talk about some of the newer tracks on the deluxe version, I'm curious if there's any track from the original track list that kind of has taken on new meaning after having listeners interact with it and just living with it for a longer period of time.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, I think it's probably the song I Still Believe You're Good. It's a great, it has been a real special song throughout the band guys and crew guys, and just, I think that song has really meant a lot to a lot of people and to us. I feel like, sorry to keep going back to the pandemic here, but, it was a really bizarre experience for us. I remember going to like 3 shows back to back that got canceled because when the lockdowns were starting to take effect. And I remember driving home on the bus. I think it was right around March 12th of 2020-ish, and looking at the guys, crew guys and band guys sitting across from you while you're driving home after spending 3 days seeing everything that was going on in the world and kind of the uncertainty and wondering what was going to come out of all that, or if we were ever going to even do a show again, or if that was going to be the end of the band, or how long was it going to go. And I think everyone had that kind of sinking feeling down in their stomachs, like, this is not good. And, for most of us, touring is our livelihood. That's where we make most of our living from, and our crew guys, obviously. And so all of that just gets completely shut down. And I was, personally, had a couple small businesses on the side where I was doing LED content for other tours, and obviously if touring is shut down, then those businesses were shut down as well. And then, that whole year, aside from just being locked down, then, my dad died of cancer, and, he was perfectly healthy and was gone within like 3 months, and it was just a disaster of a year. And, I think for a lot of people, it really made them ask themselves some pretty deep questions about what they believe. Obviously, we had a lot of time to do that, and so that song really came out of that, and I think it really people really resonate with that song live. I feel like everyone's in some way or another has been through the same things, whether it's, the health of our kids or our health of our bodies or what we went through was something that made everybody kind of dig deep. And I think that song is a reassuring song.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we can move to some of the newer tracks. I mean, you already mentioned the collaboration with Bart on the one. I'm just curious how some of those kind of came to be with the group.
Yeah, well, that particular one, I'm trying to remember how Bart even got involved. Sorry, we were talking about how I remember having a meeting one morning with some of the band and management people, and I was like, man, I was like, Mercy, me and Newsboys have never collaborated on anything. We've never toured together, but we've both been around for about the same amount of time. We're really good friends. We share tons of mutual friends in our management companies, known each other forever. I was like, doesn't it feel like we should do something like that? And so that one just came out of a friendship. I actually ran into Bart at both of our kids were like in an art class together here in Nashville, and he was at it was like the show, and I didn't even know it was his kid that was in the class with my kid. So we talked and whatever, and so Tate just called him up because we had planned on doing a version of the song, and he obliged, and it was awesome what he added to the song. So that's kind of how that one came about, and maybe one day we'll get to perform it live together on stage or something. That'd be pretty cool.
That's funny. I don't think I realized that Mercy Me and Newsboys had never really had that interaction before.
No.
Touring or otherwise. That's funny. I'm curious if there's any personal highlights for you that kind of stand out from the writing and the recording that you all have been doing for this collection.
Yeah, personal highlights. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know. To me, the personal highlights kind of come after the songs are done, and you're on the road, and then you're seeing how they go over, and how they how people respond to them. But I tend to be more involved in the technical side of the band or whatever, so I was a little bit of the brains behind the Magnetic video, which was the first single off the record, and I was driving, which I often do in my minivan, which I'm sitting in right now, as a matter of fact, with kids, and I got a text from somebody at the office, and they're like, hey, the Magnetic video got nominated for a Dove Award, and that was like totally unexpected. I didn't even know that the nominations were happening or whatever. So that was like a personal highlight for me. That was fun, like being involved in producing the video, and then like anytime it gets recognized for, because it wasn't really a song that was a huge radio hit or anything like that, and so I thought it was kind of cool that like enough people noticed that it picked up a nomination. That was kind of fun. That was a first for me, but it'll be fun to like hit the road this fall and play these songs live. And actually, just this morning, for a couple hours, I've been working on putting the set list together and the show together for the fall. And I think fans are going to really like it. It's going to be a little bit different than what we've done in the past, and it's actually going to be like two short shows with a little break in the middle, and both of the sets are going to have completely different themes to them. So I'm really excited about that and getting that out on the road and working on that.
That's awesome. That was going to be one of the questions that I came to around the tour. Is I know that it's coming up in about 2 weeks at this point that you guys kick off. So I was curious, from the planning and the rehearsing that I'm sure that's started and is in progress, like what you were most looking forward to, but that the formatting definitely sounds like that's one of those pieces.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of here and there this fall. So this weekend we start with Franklin Graham on his God Loves You tour, and that's like 6 shows. That's kind of up in the Northeast, so it's a totally different audience than what we would usually play. And so that's got like collaboration with other artists, and then we play like a couple different times during the night for that, and it's more of like a supporting role for the Graham organization. So that's that's a different thing. And then we get like a 2-day turnaround, and we start our tour, which is like 12 shows. But yeah, what I'm planning on is to we'll do one set like early in the night of just pop hits, like nothing but like the flashiest pop set that you've ever seen. And the drum riser's coming back out on the road with us this fall, the spinning drum riser and all that stuff. So kind of like a super fun, like, cause it's hard, right? Like over 30 years you've been a band, and people that come to see the show come for all different reasons, and are fans from all different eras. And so I've been thinking about, like, how do we make everybody happy, you know?
Right.
And so, yeah, the idea would be to do, like, an hour of, like, all pop hits, and then take a break, and then do a completely different set on set 2, where it's more like He Reigns and the worship stuff and the new stuff and We Believe and God's Not Dead and some of the songs that we sing in church, and then also bring out some of the other artists from the tour to help on those and collaborate. And so that's kind of the pipe dream right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was gonna say that tour you have Cochren Co, Adam and Jeremy out for those nights. I'm just curious how you think that those different individuals and groups kind of complement the message that you're trying to leave and music that you're trying to share as a band.
Yeah, I mean it can be, you know, opening acts are you know, definitely like add a lot to the show. And with Cochren, we've actually never toured with him before either, and you know, I like it when there's artists that are way different than us, and even Jeremy too. So with Cochren, you know, he's really got like a rootsy gospel kind of thing, and I've actually never heard him play live, so I guess I'll be able to dig into that. But we've been talking a little bit on the phone, and he's going to collaborate during our show a little bit. So, but ultimately it's for the fans, right? It's like trying to find the best fit for what they like, and even if it's an artist that the crowd might not know that well, it's like I love it when a new artist comes out like Jeremy, who's not really new, but will be new to a lot of people, and they get a platform and a stage, and then they just make the night that much better for everybody. So I'm excited when that works out.
Absolutely. And this might be a tough question, but I guess between the tour and kind of this deluxe version of the Stand album, how do you hope that these kind of projects impact others specifically, like, or any different than any of your previous projects?
Well, you know, as a dad of like 4 daughters, and just observing, I think like we all do, the way our culture is. I mean, I don't want to sound like the old dad here in the room, but like I think we can all agree that like the world is changing really fast, and most of that, in my estimation, is not for the good. and I think a lot of times, at least I've learned, you know, raising kids and having a family, is that a lot of us, I think, are oblivious to the spiritual battles that go on behind the scenes, you know, and in this world. And, you know, they're temporary, because this world's going to fade away, and in reality, it's going to be a very short time, really, most of us are here compared to eternity. But, you know, I think one thing that's great about Christian music and gospel music is that when you listen to it, they're constant reminders of what God's done, who God is. They're reminders of God's promises. They're reminders of what the end game is. They are useful tools when we're dealing with things in our spiritual lives, and doing battle, just kind of getting through the day and dealing with our culture and what we've become, you know, because culture has become upside down. You know, it's like we glorify horrible things, and we don't, and we vilify things that are good, you know, and I think that's happening more and more, which the Bible says it will happen as time goes on. So I think, you know, I've always said that, like, we don't ever really see the whole scope of what the music does. We know it's powerful, it's just a gift that God's given us. But like, I we all love hearing the stories. That's why we love touring so much and seeing the fans so much, because they're like, you could spend 2 years in a studio with no windows singing into a mic by yourself and feeling like a crazy person. But, that's a completely different world than taking those songs out on the road and playing them in front of like thousands of like faces that are just staring at you and that have heard the songs, and they're there because the band means something to them, or the song means something to them. And that's where we are at this point in our career. Like, if you're coming to a Newsboys show, chances are that you've been a fan for a long time. And a lot of times, we see like parents that are our age and they're bringing their kids to their first show, and it means something to them. There's like a history there. There's like and that's really cool, because I think a lot of music and the way the industry is set up, it's so like, music is so disposable now. Like, I would hate to be a new artist now, because it's like, don't like that, oh, flick to that. Don't like this, flick to that. Like, people are just such consumers. But we've been around so long where, like, it seems like there's a history there, and like every fan that comes through a signing line or something like that, it's always, the handshake is always associated with a story. Like, oh, when I was going through this, I heard Entertaining Angels, or when I was going through that, or we were married and we played something beautiful at our service. It's like the stories are endless, and it's so cool. It's so awesome, and that's kind of like the fuel that keeps you going. That's like, if you didn't do that, then if you didn't get out on the road and meet those people and see those people, you'd be out of touch. And so that's the beauty of being on the road, and that's what's so great about Christian music.
Sure, and that definitely, I'm sure, makes those nights special for you. We're coming to time here, so I think I'm going to close with one final question for you, and it can be, band oriented, or you can make it more personal oriented, however you want to answer. But I'm curious just what you're most expectant for in the remainder of this year, as we get ready to get on the tail end of the remaining months left here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know, honestly. What am I expected for? I don't know. I after a couple of years of not doing a ton of shows and having a lot of stops and starts, and I'm just hoping that we see people come out in big numbers, and I feel like people have lived under a lot of fear for a long time, and I think coming together and being in a room with other believers and singing, for years, that whole experience is something that becomes bigger than just us and a crowd and an entertaining show. That's one of the awesome things about the gospel. It's like the Bible even talks about when 2 or more are gathered, that there's power in that. So, and I think as a band, I think we want to just serve people and love people, because I think we're old enough to know that really in the end, that's really what matters. We've, from a industry perspective, I mean, we've done everything that you could really ever hope to achieve in a career, right? So really, there's a lot of people get into it and they have big dreams and visions to be successful artists, but we're in a weird position because we, no matter what happens from here, we've kind of done everything there is to do. There's nowhere else to go. So I feel like, we have been around long enough to know what's important, and that's to just serve people and love them and use your gifts to the best that you can. Excellence. That's what worship is when you use your gifts that God's given you to the best of your ability for Him. And that's so we take pride in that, and take pride in the show, and just hope that whoever comes to a show, there's something there for them, whether they're having a crappy week or a year or 2 years or whatever. Like, hopefully it's an encouragement to them, or if they're just simply want to see an amazing show that is like top notch, like that will happen. And if they want to, if they hear the gospel for the first time, or show up there for some unknown reason, that's presented as well. So, and even with some of the child sponsorship programs we work with, we're giving people an opportunity to help other people is never a bad thing. So that's what it's going to be about.
For sure. I just wanted to thank you again, Jeff, for taking the time to talk today. I've really, really enjoyed getting to hear more of your thoughts and kind of heart behind the music and the tour that's coming. I really appreciated it.
Yeah. Oh, man. We appreciate your time, too. And thank you so much.
Absolutely.